Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Sometimes in this, how do you call it now, interdependent world, because of the globalization, you might have in your car that you buy, parts that were made somewhere outside of your own country. And I would use United States of America as an example. You might have, let's say you buy a Chevrolet or buy a Ford, and some of the parts, or most of the parts, or all of the parts were built in, let's say, Mexico. Nothing wrong with that. But if Mexico tomorrow decides to be in an economic war with the United States, you're going to have a problem with that. Again, if you have the antibiotics made, let's say, in Zimbabwe, and the Zimbabwe gets upset one night because it didn't rain, and they cut off any supplies for you of antibiotics, you will not have antibiotics. What can you do? You can go and bomb them if you want and get it, or build your own shit home, but it's kind of like too late. So the same thing happens, it seems like, with weapons. And I remember when the Americans were crying, and it was in about 1999, they were crying that a lot of their, that there were some articles then, they were upset that some of, not a lot, I don't know the percentage, but it says some of their materials and parts were built in, for their airplanes, for instance, they were built in China. And they should do something about it, because if China gets upset, they can do this and they can do that. Okay, now it seems like the Ukrainians are upset with globalization all of a sudden, and that's bad, because if you're upset and you put yourself against that little force of globalization, and you hit Mr. Klaus Schwab and his clique of leaders that they are in the same club, and then you get in trouble. Globalization is like the global warming. It's a taboo. You can't touch it. That's a certainty. Okay, so we have this article from Business Insider from today, July 23rd, and this is the title: Ukraine strips down captured Russian drone. Can you guess? Says it is full of Western parts. I knew it, right? You know who reported this? CNN. Okay, all right. So let's go. Ukraine said Russian drones are full of components made by Western companies. I think that's a false statement, and I will tell you something. I don't remember Western countries producing anything but services. What do you mean? Doing what? Like chips? Not chips to eat, microchips, or what? What do you mean? What are they producing? What manufacture sectors they have? What country exactly? Made in the USA? Like what? Condoms? Not even that. Despite global sanctions. You know where this article goes to, right? Now, they said you gotta give us weapons because these guys are killing us and it's your fault. Now, you gotta sanction these guys with grain, with oil, with gas, with all that, because you arm them and they kill us. And now they say, oh my God, you supply them with parts for their little drones. So what is going to be next? Sanction everything. But these guys, Ukrainians, have such big power, great power on a global stage all of a sudden, because they were punded by these guys here. Or maybe not, because as far as they say, they're winning. So then the Russians are the victim. Anyway, so they claim that they're Western parts. What kind of Western parts? Which exactly? Maybe they say, right? Maybe they say. Russia has a long history of evading international controls. Okay, so they were not supposed to have them or something. Ukraine claims that Russian drones used to kill its soldiers are full of parts from its Western allies. A Ukrainian technical intel officer showed CNN Nick Robertson, CNN, inside a captured Russian Orlan 10 surveillance drone, revealing components from around the world. Globalization, my man, globalization, what do you want? It's the same as with indignation and values. and virtue signaling is according to the circumstance and interest. You know, you can't say you should not kill. No, you should not kill, but sometimes, you know, it's a murky thing when it's in our interest. You know, democracy is the will of the people, but when someone who we don't like gets elected, democracy is something, or too much democracy here. we gotta make sure we can control that democracy a little bit. You know what I mean? The same as the European Union tries to do with a veto power when they try to implement any sanctions or vote any sanctions against a country. Russia, they have a veto power and they want to get away with that. Oh, no. You gotta have only 51% or something. Why? Because some bottom feeders of the bottom feeders, so the babies of the baby bottom feeders of the bottom feeders originals in Europe, which is France and Germany and Italy, so below is like Lithuania, Romania, Hungary, they cannot, you know, not vote, because they might veto the bottom feeders. The babies cannot veto the bottom feeders. It's a joke, man. It's a joke. It's right in our face, right here. Just like that. We can't do that, right? We have to be peaceful. Blah, 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 blah. All right, so the officer claimed that the drone's cell phone tracker was US made. He said that the engine was manufactured in Japan. Wow. And the thermal imaging module on the camera was produced in France after Russia had already invaded. Those three countries were caught with their pants down. What are you gonna do? Let me guess. Officer, other Russian drone parts came from countries including Austria, Germany, Taiwan, and the Netherlands, the officer claimed. This is in spite of a spate of global sanctions aimed at crippling Russia's war machine. Okay. The officer said his job is to follow every serial number to work out who made the part and alert allies to stop Russia's drones tech from getting their hands on it. Robertson noted that stopping the supply of these often commercial components won't be easy, as Russia might have stockpiled parts, as has a long history of evading sanctions. You have to adjust, my boy. The issue of Western parts in Russian drones is not a new problem. As early as 2017, researchers from Western manufactured components in a Russian drone being flown over eastern Ukraine, so they found that. Some of the components identified from that drone traveled to Russia through obscure middlemen and small trading companies, the paper said, whose business could be to track. With tough, not though, tough, but it's not incorrect spelled. It's tough to track. Yeah, it's tough. The FBI has been tracking down Russian supply networks since 2014. Why 2014? And trying to close them down. So I mean, it's a war. Obviously, continues among all countries, not only between these two. So if they can continue trying to sidestep it, and it is a real problem because often these components are bought by legitimate companies. Samuel, Granny Evans, Rossi, blah, 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 told CNN. Well, so they are making them with the help of your allies. What are we going to do? Who are we going to promote? Because usually that's how it goes. You promote these guys, you don't cut them off unless, you know, they're really mangled into the big forces of this planet and they're not part of the club. So what do you want? A lot of as I said, it's just globalism and it's trade. If there was an embargo, if it was an embargo placed by a certain country against certain products that should not be delivered to this particular country, I understand. But what's the problem? Okay, they were delivered after the war started. Was there any embargo on that? Was there any law? Was there anything that prohibited those countries to do it? Or just a moral indignation they had to feel on their own because you say so? These guys don't understand that some people might agree with the other side. or would think that the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's not they are the how should I put it? They are the angels and the other ones are the devils here. Some people might see it differently, good or bad, however you want. That's why debate, conversation, arguments, evidence, fact-based evidence, bring them on. So they think that they are the good guys and everybody else who would communicate with those guys, because those guys are pure evil, like Hitler, then you're obviously a bad person. Some people might not see it that way, unless you're really a dogmatic mind, or you don't even care. But I understand it's propaganda. I understand they have to win something that they were told by their paymasters. It's not them. They just say what they're supposed to, and tomorrow, I don't know, they want to say that their women have two arms and two legs like the Western women, and that's wrong or something. Who knows what idiocracy we'll see next. Nevertheless, yes, they have foreign and Western parts. What are you gonna do? Ban them? Go ahead. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.